Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm not gonna ask you to like and subscribe right now because that would be really cliched. This is obviously, you read the title, I'm gonna be talking about how I hand drew this comic that is now up on Webtoon. I am pretty proud of this. I know I'm supposed to be working on a game. I am, trust me. But I just wanted to talk about my process, see if anyone is interested in that. So, we'll start with the process. The very first thing I did before deciding to truly commit to making this comic was research platforms. Where do I want to put this comic? Because you need to figure out how you want to format it when you're making it, right? And because I'm doing it traditionally, I need to have that figured out beforehand because I can't just easily edit everything digitally. That would just take extra time compared to if I were to just design it with the platform in mind. And I settled on Webtoon since I didn't actually research that well. I'm gonna admit that. So please do your research. But I also want to make sure, remember to read the terms and conditions of whatever platform you use. Because I'm on Webtoon Canvas, I still own all the rights to my story. I don't know if other ones work differently. I assume they don't when you're a beginner, when you're starting out, when no one knows who you actually are. But just check to be on the safe side. The next thing I do was outline my story. I have a old journal with pages left over that I use. Um, and I started by obviously coming up with which characters I wanted to use. I already knew which characters. It was just my main four and Nectarine because he's gotta kind of be included, you know. Um, and then I wrote down like a timeline, a very brief timeline, like childhood, middle school, high school, and then major events like their debut as a group, and then their debut as a second group, like when they graduated, when they all moved in together, things like that. And then I broke that down further into individual like topics or events from each of those moments that I could focus on. And then I just wrote a rough outline of what exactly I was going to do for each chapter. And I did that for 15 chapters. And I'm actually going to use an allegory to explain this better, or an analogy is a better term. I like to think of it like animation. So in animation, there is pose to pose animating. It's where you get like your first pose and your last pose, and then all the extremes, and then you do the overshoots, and then you do the in-betweens to make it smooth. And then there's straight ahead where you just start with the pose and maybe an end pose, but you know where you're gonna go, and then you just make each frame in order to get to that end pose. And so outlining is kind of like doing pose to pose, outlining your story like that. But what I really end up doing is just using that as my rough outline and then using essentially doing straight ahead to just let the story flow naturally based on what I notice in the actual writing. So that's really how I did the story. It might stretch out a little longer. I might wrap it up shorter than I originally planned, but that's how I was doing it. I just let the story flow as it was, because trying to stick too tightly to a schedule when I don't really need one isn't really good. Obviously, you can't do that if you work in an industry, but it works for me, so that's what I did. The next thing I did was obviously make the comic itself. For chapter one, I did it in my sketchbook because it has nice thick pieces of paper. Um, I was using alcohol markers, this King Art brand, which I know I was not supposed to use them in my sketchbook now. Please research what type of paper you need first. Some of my markers are permanently like dried out now, just because I used them on super absorbent paper or whatever. Anyways, first I did the sketches for each shot, each like one page at a time. I did the sketch, and then I colored it, and then I did the line work over that, just because I feel like it's a little easier and I can correct any mistakes made during coloring with the line work. But if you just go in with line work immediately, it's a little harder to do that because the lines are there now. Um, and then after I do the line work, that's when I add in the dialogue, and then I actually use a ruler to draw out all the boxes dividing each part. So I did this with essentially one piece of paper, cut it in half vertically, like hot dog way. And then on each side is one long panel that I cut up into multiple boxes. So not a traditional comic page, but that's because I was designing it with Webtoon in mind, like I said at the beginning. After that, I just scanned it into my printer. I'm very, very lucky to have access to a printer so close. Scanned it in, which is a little bit of a hassle because it was in my sketchbook and I didn't want to rip out the pages. Um, and then I just edited the photos to make them look more like they did in real life. My editing process is really horrible right now. That is the last thing I have to fix. I fix like every other part of my process. This definitely takes some practice to figure out what exactly you need to do to make the pages look the best that you can. But then after all that, after you've corrected the colors, then I just crop it so that each half of a page is its own panel as you need to put it in Webtoon, and then I just uploaded it in. It feels so simple, but like, it kind of was. Like, it was really easy. All I have to do is commit to actually working on it, and it's way easier than I thought. Now, what is the story actually about, you might be asking? It's about Jay, Karka, Saffron, and Sky, the four main characters. It's about their band, Jay Lee, how they got together, how they all met, because they're still in high school at the time of this. This is 3 years before the story of Project Lala. It's supposed to be a nice prequel. It's supposed to be a lot more lighthearted compared to what the game will be. It is a horror game, so it's not really difficult to make it more lighthearted as a fun little comic, but that's really it. It's just how they meet, overcome their differences, if you want to be cliched like that. Um, but I don't really know how to explain it in like such a simple way because it is really that simple. That's really all they're doing. I may or may not be lying to you about this, but like don't think about that. I'll edit this part out. Trust me. I'm not too lazy to remember to do that. And last thing before I'm all done talking in your ear, I don't know why you listen to the song. My voice kind of sucks. Anyways, this is all very experimental, so I cannot guarantee high quality from this comic. I'm just gonna be straight up honest. This is a completely new art style for me. I've never used alcohol markers before in my life, which is what I mentioned. I used the wrong paper and now they're dry. So I'm learning, I'm making mistakes, I'm learning. Um, Also the whole scanning process, also the whole writing process. I don't know if there's a better way to do it because I've never done it before. So don't take this as like a serious big project for me, but it is also kind of like a serious big project for me. It's very lighthearted, it's what I'm supposed to be. This is like not a serious thing. This is a very simple, fun comic. If someone out there happens to enjoy reading it, then its purpose is fulfilled. There's nothing really more I aim to do with this. So thank you for listening to me talk for this long. Shockingly, you stayed till the end. Basically, no one else does. Basically, no one even clicks on the video. But thank you for watching. Have a good day. Like and subscribe, I guess. I'm supposed to tell you to do that. Anyways, have a good day.